Hey guys, what's up? Today we are going to talk about factoring a GCF. So the goal will be to be able to factor out a GCF. There you go. So let's look at this down here. So you want to look at what is the biggest number that divides evenly into 14, 8, and 72. And if you're having a hard time figuring this out, what you can do is you can break this up. So if we look at 14, it's 2 times 7, and we have an x squared, so times x times x. And if we look at 8, I can tell you now it's 2 times 2 times 2, and you have an x here. And then if we look at 72, this one's a little crazier, right? So we've got 2 times 36, and then we know that this will be 6 times 6. So then if I break this up, we know that 72 is going to be 2 times 2 times 3 times 2 times 3. Okay, so if we look at what each of these gives us, like pretend that we have all this going on right here, right? So it gives us this gives us this down here. Look at what they all have in common. So looking at this, they all have a 2 in common. And let me scan across here. I think that's it because this has a 7. These don't have them. Yeah, so that's it. That is your GCF. So when we factor that 2 out, essentially what we're doing is pulling it out of all of this. So if we look at this, this is 7x squared. And then if we look at this, this is plus 4x. And then if we look at this, this is plus 36. Like that. So you factored out the GCF. Now, some people can just look at this and tell the biggest number that goes into 14, 8, and 72 is 2. And if we divide, because factoring is division, if we divide each of these by 2, this is what we're going to get left over. Okay? So let's go over here and look. What's the biggest number that goes into 7, 28, and 35? So you can break it up like this, but I'm going to go ahead and just go straight to it. It's going to be 7. And then look, this has an x, this has an xx, and this has an xxx. So they all three would have an x in common. Remember, do this if confused. So if you don't see it, do that. Get it right. So if I take 7x and divide by 7x, I get 1. 28 divided by 7 is 4. X squared divided by x, or in other words, take out the x, is x, minus 35 divided by 7 is 5, and x cubed, take out an x, is x squared. There we go. Again, do this long way if you get confused, because that's where everything comes from. Remember that if I go too fast, you can always pause this, and you can also go back and rewatch and re-listen. So looking at this here, it might be hard to tell what goes into all of these. So let's think about this. I know that 3 goes into here, and I know it goes in 13 times, and 13 is prime, so that's as far as I can go. And then look, we have an x to the 5th, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm just doing this the long way. 13 is prime, but we have an x to the 3rd, so here we're going to have 13 and x, x, x. Then we bust up 78. So let me bust that up over here. Now it's even, so I know it could be divided by 2. So if I do 78 divided by 2, I get 39. Okay, so then we're back to that 39 over there. So this would be 3 and 13. So 78 would be 2 times 3 times 13, and we have an XX. And let's not forget these symbols, okay, because those matter. So looking at this, what they have in common then is a 13. And it looks like to me they have 2 x's in common. Okay, so that's what we're going to factor out of there. So we're going to write 13, and then x times x is x squared. Factoring is division, so if you imagine these are gone, what's going to be left here is a 3x cubed. What's going to be left here is just an x, and what's going to be left here is 6. And that's it. You have factored out the GCF. This is the long way, but who cares? I'd rather you get it right. So if you need to pause real quick and do it the long way, do it the long way. Looking at this, the biggest number that goes into 6, 3, and 9 is a 3. And this has 2 of the x's, 4 of the x's, and 6 of the x's. So they all have 2 in common. So I'm not going to do this one the long way, just so you can compare and contrast. 6 divided by 3 is 2. X to the 6th divided by x to the 2nd, you would subtract there. X to the 4th. Minus 3 divided by 3 is 1. Do you have to write the 1? No. X to the 4th divided by x to the 2nd. Remember, when we divide with exponents, we subtract the exponents, so there's that. Minus 9 divided by 3 is 3. X squared divided by x squared, those would cancel out, and you'd be done. Boom. There you go. Let's move right along here. This has 3 of the x's and this has 2 of the x's, so they've got 2 of them in common. X cubed divided by x squared, you would subtract exponents, you'd have x to the first. Do you need to write that 1? No. Bring down my minus. X squared divided by x squared is just 1. There you go. Don't forget about that 1. Big mistakes happen there. Here, the biggest number, that goes into 2 and 8 is 2. We have an x squared, we have an x, so they both have an x in common. 2 divided by 2 is 1. You don't necessarily have to write the 1, but I'm going to do it. No one's going to arrest me. X squared divided by x to the first, we subtract exponents. X to the first, bring down my minus. 8 divided by 2 is 4. And then I took out an x, or I divided by x, so that's all gone. And there you have it, factoring out the GCF. Don't forget, you can go back, rewatch, especially if you need to rewatch doing it the long way, do that, okay, until you understand and you can see what's going on. Until next time, bye!